Well, Steve, thank you for joining us from France. What a remarkable weekend for rugby league in France.
Bonjour. I'm not actually French. English guy here reporting on the game, and the busiest and most exciting and colourful period I've experienced. We've lived here for 5 years now, and we've sensed the growth, obviously, with Catalans, but with the Toulouse, what a awesome coincidence for Toulouse to rise as they have. I know they haven't got into Super League yet, but just imagine if Catalans Dragons won the Super League Grand Final, and 24 hours later, Toulouse win their Grand Final and get into Super League. I'm going to be pretty busy writing reports and features and bits and bobs for the next, 12 months or so.
I like most people over here, I watched the game on Sky, the semi-final, and the atmosphere and the colour and everything that was going on in a packed-out Stade Gilbert Brutus. It just looked incredible.
I've been lucky enough to see the Wigan v Manly game back in 1987, and I went to Brisbane when Wigan beat the Broncos for the World Club Challenge. So, and all the Wembleys I've seen, of course, and many grand finals, most of them. I've never witnessed anything like that at the Brutus. Even Steve Mack told me, he said, I've been around the world a bit. I've seen some games, and it's not the biggest stadium, and it's not grand or humongous, but the passion that was showed last Thursday, genuinely, it was moving. And even the journals, the hard-bitten journals in the back were dancing away, and I put some video online there of French journalists dancing and just buying into it. No negativity, 100% positivity. And those people in that stadium are so grateful for how things have developed there. They're like naive puppies with their eyes wide open, thinking, has this really happened? And the way that the club put the fireworks in tandem music, and it was absolutely perfect. And I don't think you could do that in England. I don't think you've got that kind of Latin spirit or Mediterranean view on things. There was a real love for the game last Thursday, and it genuinely moved me.
And a lot of people are getting kind of wrapped up in the romance of Catalans being in the grand final. Well, let's not make any mistake. They were 100% deserved to be there. They finished top of Super League, of course. They made relatively not easy work at Hulk other professional against them. And just from a rugby perspective, this must be a team that people out there haven't seen the likes of before as well.
I think we all know the stories of and I will name names, the Todd Kearneys and the Willie Masons coming over and the epic boozing sessions on Canary Beach. Those days are gone. Steve Mack arrived here 4.5 years ago and made it his mission immediately to make a professional side and a professional squad, and not just the first team. He took massive steps to professionalise and revolutionise the junior sections at Catalans, and it takes time. But we're now seeing the Matthew Laguerres coming through, the Cozers, the Roman Francos, all these young players. Arthur Morg, Cesar Rouge is going to be the next star. It's been genuinely a French revolution created by a guy from Hull. Steve Mack has completely and utterly changed that club from top to bottom. And you'd never see a more grateful chairman than Mr. Bernard Gouache. And his relationship with his coach is fantastic. I remember the early days when Steve got through the £1 million game first, as he came halfway through his season. And then we started the following season, and he lost 7 from 9. And we're in the press conferences after the game, and I'm asking questions every week thinking, shit, it's gone wrong. And Steve was so focused and determined. He never wavered. He knew what he had to do. He knew it before a 5 years process. And I think it maybe has come a year too early or too soon. But the kind of players he has now, they aren't the Australian veterans. I know we laugh about Jimmy Maloney. We laugh whenever we meet Jimmy Maloney. He's a funny guy. But he's got these young French players coming through now. And the kind of players that he's got are team players and professionals and athletes. You look at the physique of Mike McMeekin and Matthew Whitley. These guys live for rugby league, not here to party. They're here to further their careers. And they couldn't further them any better than under a coach like Steve Mack.
Isn't that perhaps the thing that's exciting people most over there, is that in both Catalans and Toulouse, there are some fantastic overseas players in that squad, granted, but there is a spine of French players and a kind of layer of young French players coming through.
Yeah, exactly. Toulouse Olympique don't get, because they're not in Super League, well, not yet, fingers crossed, they don't get the media coverage back home in England. Maybe they should do, and I'm looking at that for next year. But they've got junior sections, handicapped, women's groups. It's such an inclusive club, and they themselves have looked at the Catalan project that Steve Mack has revolutionised, and they're going along the same path. They're putting their investment in the youth and the local. It's such a big city, Toulouse, and it's a rugby city, don't forget, a rugby union city. I know Toulouse Olympique are 84 years old, but you have to doff your cap to Stade Toulousain, the European champions, giants of the game. And they are looking towards Toulouse Olympique and working with them fantastically at what they are doing to bring young players through. And I think Toulouse need a bit more credit for what they're doing, because the Catalans junior setup, we live just in the hills near Perpignan. We've got Palau Broncos and there's Pia, and all these little villages are really passionate about rugby league. All those kids pick a rugby league ball up. They don't think about rugby union in this section. But in Toulouse, which is, it's proper French. We're Catalan. It's 2.5 hours away on the motorway. Completely different setup. Rugby union crazy. But both teams have significantly invested in junior setups. And you're going to see that. You've seen it already at Catalans. It'll take maybe 3-4 years to come through at Toulouse.
And I'm not going to go into the full history of it, but just the wider context of this is that rugby league was banned in France for a long time. And we look at the success of French rugby union and perhaps wonder why rugby league's not been to achieve the same thing. There's been so many obstacles in the way. So for French rugby league to be kind of reaching this high watermark as it is now, for the people that have been involved in the game over there for such a long time, they've given up so much of their time and lives to kind of promote it. This must feel like all of their Christmases and birthdays at once.
Yeah, for sure, because it's only a couple of generations ago when people quite clearly remember that the Vichy government deciding to ban rugby league, seize all of its assets, and declare anybody who plays rugby league, they'll be arrested and put in jail. It takes some recovery from that. And then there was a bit of a renaissance in the 50s, where the first World Cup was held in France, and it was booming after the war. So it did recover, but a series of mistakes by the French Federation, deciding not to go with TV contracts, etc., and quite a lot of infighting between the factions within the game. It is quite a factionalized sport over here, and the new president is dealing with that. To recover from that is incredible. So the families, the generations of people, they still remember those times, and the good times and the bad times. But this is different. This is for two teams to get to the top level of European Rugby League. The gratitude and the thanks after all the suffering they've gone through is palpable. You can sense it when you talk to them. It's in their eyes. There really is a kind of naive wonder about this bright new future for French Rugby League, and it's infectious. It really is a beautiful thing.
There must be genuine belief as well that both teams on Saturday and Sunday can and will win their grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm not supposed to be biased, but when you're living and breathing French Rugby League over here, of course, my personal choice, putting my job aside, would be to see Catalans win. And I know they're capable of winning. The last time that they played St Helens in a big cup game was at Bolton in 2018 on the way to Wembley. And that was the most complete performance I've ever seen. It beat St Helens fair and square. And that was after the St Helens fans were cheering to, we've got Catalans in the draw and we're all looking forward to beating those Frenchies. But no, I think if Steve McNamara can summon the spirit of 2018 in that semi-final at Bolton, I'm not saying it won't be a problem, because Saints are fantastic. Obviously, they're going for the three-peat and they're the best team in the game. But I think they've got it, the Catalans. Me personally, all bias or favouritism aside, I think they've got, if Sam Tompkins plays, or even if Sam Tompkins doesn't play, they've got the strike force, they've got the defence now, they've got the consistency to see out games, particularly this year. They've been the comeback kings, behind in so many games, and they beat St Helens at Magic Weekend with that drop goal. So that they don't flap anymore, they don't fall apart. I think they've got the legs physically, and I think they've got the mentality to take it all the way, even to Golden Point if we have to, but I'm not sure my heart could take it. And for Toulouse, Featherstone, good side, Featherstone, you don't dismiss them at all. But I think Toulouse are just going to take it away next week. I've got to find a way to getting back from Manchester to Toulouse. We're working on that as we speak, because we've got to do some work there on the day. But I think that's going to be a carnival, a celebration in Toulouse of rugby league. We saw 7,500 on Saturday. I think we're looking at a 5-figure at least attendance there. The club is working so hard to get it full. And I think there's going to be a very special rugby league party there that people might remember for generations to come.
And it kind of feels like we shouldn't get too carried away. I'm about to get very carried away. We've got a fantastic year, obviously, for French Rugby League. There's a World Cup over here to get out of the way in 2022, hopefully, and then a World Cup in France in 2025. If if the French Federation can capitalise on this and get this right, and if Catalans and Toulouse can maintain their level of success, and we have a great World Cup over here, a great World Cup in France in 4 years' time, what a seismic shift and moment for the game of rugby league in the Northern Hemisphere this could be.
Absolutely, absolutely. It could be the breakthrough that we've been searching for the past 20, 30 years. I think this could be the World Cup and the elevation of Toulouse to Super League, the moment where some clarity on at the marketing level of the game, where people pull together and say, hang on a bit, it's a massive market in Europe, massive TV market, which is where most of the money comes from. You look at the blue chip sponsors that are coming into Catalans now, water companies, banking, all major names in France. We need someone at the RFL and Super League, and hopefully if they get together again, just one or two people, looking at the European angle. So much money comes into French clubs. They aren't as dependent upon spectators, gate receipts. The sponsorship and the corporate, they call them partners, not sponsors. The sponsorship and that's coming to Toulouse Olympique specifically has kept them through 18 months of no gate receipts. You know, and they've done it and got a really hefty wage bill with top players. Catalans Dragons, you go to a game there and it's every single hospitality ticket is sold. The money behind the club is fantastic. Now, the Rugby Football League and Super League need to get into that and work with these people. They need some kind of conduit between the English game and the French game, because genuinely, there's a massive market for sponsorship and money in France. So I think, yeah, you're right. The Rugby League World Cup in 2025, on top of Toulouse getting to the Super League, genuinely groundbreaking, seismic, as you said. Yeah, all of those things.
Steve, thank you for joining us on what I'm sure is going to be a fairly busy week for you, but enjoy it. You've got 2 grand finals to enjoy, and it's going to be a great week.
Great, good to speak to you. Thanks, Lewis.